Hey, in this first video, we're going to look at a set of retouching tools, or not this video, but in the next series of videos, we'll look at all the retouching tools that Photoshop has to offer. And the files we're going to use and kind of mess around with is this one, and let me actually open up the other ones. Actually have a couple of images um, that are actually from a studio photographer that have not been retouched. So a friend of mine who is a professional photographer in New York, and these would be images that he would retouch. So in this one, I want to go over the clone stamp tool. Now, this is a tool I do use quite a bit. So to find this, you would go down. There's the clone stamp, and then there's the pattern stamp below it. I've never used the pattern stamp tool. Um, so that's all I can say about that one. But I do use this one from time to time. And typically what I use these tools for is retouching dust out of negatives. In the past, I've done like lots of restoration work, like on old photographs, like maybe repairing a torn corner or something like that. But typically what I do now is I just use it to clean up negatives, and I'll show you really quickly what I'm talking about. Let me see. Let me go here. That's my phone. What am I doing? Okay, here. And say on something like this. Something I'm working on. It's a big file, but I'll zoom in and I'll show you. Now, this is an image I'm doing like lots of weird stuff to, but I have not retouched it yet. So I'll show you like where the dust would be. Come on. There we go. So a negative is a piece of film. I scan it in the computer, and actually like all this little stuff here, when I'm done with the image, I would go through and retouch on it. And I can just show you quickly what I'm talking about. So I just made a new blank layer, and I would hover over, click next to it, and take out the dust. And I would do that over the entire negative. It would image, okay, I keep calling it a negative, and it would take me a good couple hours. This is something I just kind of go on autopilot. I might, have a coffee or a glass of wine while I'm doing this, and just kind of leisurely like go through and take out all these little spots. Okay, and again, this is something I would do probably last. Yeah, honestly, I should do it first, but I always want to kind of like mess with the image too much to do it first. So this is actually something I'm working on. It's not done yet, so don't judge me. But that's what I would do. All right, so let's look at this tool. You just saw me kind of do that. So this tool is the clone stamper. And what I'm going to do is I have the file open. Now when we retouch, we always want to do it on a blank layer. Some tools don't let you do that. Most at this point do. But again, this goes along with like this project's theme of non-destructive. So I'm going to go down to my layers panel. I'm going to make a new blank layer. I already have the tool selected. Okay, so the tool responds to like whatever paintbrush you're using. So if I right click, you just want to use a soft round brush, okay, should be like, okay, now I have all these weird brushes. This one, okay. Hardness can be all the way down to 0. it depends. Honestly, sometimes if you're working on like a face or something and you want like a little bit of rigidity to the edge of the brush, you might kind of, if it's like in sharp focus, you might want to bump it up. But this image and the one I was doing on my own, like kind of call for like a 0. All right. So also let's look up here. There's opacity. You want to leave that 100, 100. It's just like the paintbrush. The one thing you want to do for sample is have it set to current layer and below. Okay, meaning the layer you're selected on. So let's see, if I try to retouch on the blank layer, okay, I think, let's see what it does. It's not going to do anything. Like say I try to take this building out. Okay, because the layer is blank, it's not going to be able, I'm sampling nothing. So if I go to current layer and below, so it'll sample through the layer. That's a really crappy job. But here it is right here. Okay, so I'm not damaging the original. Okay, so let's see how do we do this. So I'm going to make the brush, I'm going to try to take out this. And when you're retouching, you honestly want to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to move it over. And let's take out this fuzz first, okay? So I'm going to make it like a little bit kind of bigger than what I want. Or yeah, that's good. So now I'm going to hover next to it because I'm going to sample the area that's next to it and then move it on top of what I want to take out. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key and then I'm going to left click. I get the bullseye. So I just sampled this and now I'm going to put it over that in like 2 touches or 3. Okay? Let's get rid of the building. I hate that building. Okay? So I'm going to hover next to it, hold down the Alt, sample, left click to sample, and then bring it over. And you'll see it takes like a couple clicks to like do it. And I'm going to put a little bit of this over. I'm going to make that smaller. Yeah, okay, computer. Okay, computer. That's a, what do you call that? Radiohead reference. All right, and let's try to take out this. Okay, because that thing sucks. All right, so I'm gonna click up here because if I go over here, I might get that. So I'm gonna like kind of go above it and then come down below it or on top of it. And I'm not loving how I'm doing this. See, the thing about retouching is it just takes practice, and I'm honestly like a little out of practice. Something I used to do quite a bit. But the cool thing is because, it's on a layer of its own, I can just erase it and I can try it again. The thing about retouching is, well, I already said, it takes practice, but also, it just needs to be like non-distracting. So it should, when you look at the image, you don't want to be like, oh, that's horrible, like retouching. Okay? Yeah, that's okay. Well, let's see. Let's zoom out. Yeah, see, I still see like a little bit of crap there. There, that looks better. Let me just take these things out. What are they? You're gone. Okay? So it should be like non-distracting, and it should just kind of give the illusion that, nothing was there. There, that looks okay. It's not great, but there we go. All right. That is the clone stamper. Okay. You can also, like, if you wanted to, you can use it for like other effects too. Say I wanted to like make this building bigger. I'll click here, and then I'll just drag up a little bit. Oh, see, I got some of that though. Oh, what did I just do? Sorry. Freaking out here. So click there, and then let me make this. yeah, you could do that. What? Yeah, it's growing. That looks real, right? Don't do that. I'm joking around. Okay, so what would you do? Oh, yeah, erase it. And the reason you want to use a blank layer is because, again, you want it to be non-destructive. Okay? I had this happen once where I was retouching. I spent like probably 3 or 4 hours on an image when I used to work in a photo lab. And it was this massive retouching job. I probably spent like no, what did I say? Yeah, probably about 4 hours. And I worked on it, and my boss came by, and he's like, "Here, zoom out. Let me see how that's looking." And he's like, "Okay, click the layer off." But I didn't have a layer. Um, and he was like, "Well, you did a horrible job, and you didn't do it non-destructively. So why don't you do it again and try not wasting any more time?" So I had to restart for the file from scratch, do it in a blank layer, and I did a better job that time. But yeah, that's why. Okay, and then if you're happy with it, whatever, you're like, that's the greatest retouching. Then you can flatten it if you want, but you always want to have that option to check. All right, that's the clone stamp.